which says the government, right, is saying, hey, we feel as if this industry can operate differently. So we want to lift the bounds off of it, right? So we have that piece that we're dealing with. Then we have the internal piece, right? We have the internal piece where we have folks that are saying, you know what, um, going to get a license just doesn't concern me, right? It's just not a priority for me. And so we have that piece. So we have two different sides in which these calls are coming from in terms of deregulating this industry in which we all make money in. Then we have the piece of the pros versus the cons of this all. And this is where our conversation will start to begin tonight with our town hall. Okay, so the pros and the cons, we have on one side, we have, cons of actually coming in, deregulating the industry and saying that, hey, if you come in and you deregulate the industry, right, you start to lower the quality of the service. You start to lower the quality of the health and safety standards in which we are supposed to be protecting the clients from us and us from the clients. The other piece to it is you have the fact that we are destroying career paths in which technical education thrives. If you know, like I do, in high school, they used to have vocational tech and they had college prep, right? And so with those two career paths, what we're doing is we're saying that, hey, if kids want to be able to go and go the technical prep route, we're taking a whole option off the table for them, right? The other con is, hey, the fact that this industry from a workforce development standpoint helps out a lot of our military veterans be able to transition back into the workforce, right? Another piece that we have to it is we have an economic impact on communities of color, which is very important because especially when it comes to the numbers, knowing that 65% of the barbering industry is made up of Black and Latino communities, right? So those are the cons that I have heard myself. Some of you have heard that are, online when you go and do your research. Those are some of the cons of the actual deregulation piece. Now we'll go down through the pros. Some of the pros says, hey, we want to deregulate this industry because, hey, we need more people to be able to come in and be able to control this industry. It's too stale. It's too restricted. So what happens is they're saying, hey, these companies can come in and pretty much open up a monopoly within inside this industry. One of the other pros says that, this eliminates private school price gouging. If you've paid attention at all to the news in the past 3 or 4 years, there have been, institutions, private institutions that have forced their students to take on these high interest rates for student loans just to be able to get a license in which there's no way that they would be able to put food on their table and pay back these high interest loans. Then you have another argument that says, hey, we need to reduce the barrier of entry into the industry, right? It's too tough for people to get into the industry. So it is considered in some circles to be an industry where it is a low skilled type of industry. All of that is subjective. But again, these are the arguments that we are hearing. And so, E, if you can go back to that last slide for me, please. I'm going to finish this up. All right. So the other argument says, hey, you get discriminated against if you have a criminal record. This is something that I've heard way too often in this industry. And of course, every state has its own rules. It has its own state board and how they handle, felons. And so there is another argument there. The last two that we'll talk about before we get to our guest says, hey, this needs to create more competition in the market so that people can come in and be able to make money freely for the free market. All right. Let's keep in perspective. We operate in a capitalistic society. So this argument in terms of free market will always fly whenever you're talking to politicians and those that actually have their finger on the trigger. And last but not least, for the pros, the one that I hear the most often is it lowers prices for consumers. I'm not going to expound on that too much because I think we all know what that brings us to. So we have the pros, we have the cons, we have the different sides of the argument, and then we also have the regulation that is held upon us. So with that being said, it is my privilege and it is my honor to introduce our panelists for the night for our town hall. And so the first person that I'm going to bring in Miss Tamara Sheely. Good afternoon, Miss Sheely.
Hi, good evening, Daryl. Good evening, everybody.
So, Miss Sheely, I appreciate you being with us tonight. If you just want to give us a short summary of who you are and what you're bringing to the table tonight.
Yes, good evening again. I am Tamara Johnson Sheely. I am the Senior Advocate of Politics, Beauty, and Barber. I am the President of the Concerned Beauty and Barber Professionals. I came into this industry in the mid-90s as a salon owner and a professional. I actually was not a barber. I was a nail technician. Started watching our industry take a dive and a demise, and started these two organizations back in 2011.
And you have done a lot for this industry, and we will get into that a little bit more, exactly what that looks like, and of course, your expertise. The next person I'm going to bring on tonight is going to be Mr. Sam Glickman. Mr. Glickman, you here with us?
Sam was telling me, he sent me a text and said that his window of getting in it's full. The room is full, so he couldn't get access. They were denying access to him. So he's trying to get in.
Yeah, actually, am I in here? I'm not even sure.
You are in. We hear you.
Yeah, we can definitely hear you, Sam.
I don't know where my picture went though. I'm not sure how to use this, man. How are you doing?
Not bad, not bad. Just look at the bottom where the camera is, Sam, and click that button.
All right.
All right, click it one more time for me. Do you have your lights on, Sam?
Yeah. Yeah, the lights are on, man.
All right, well, we'll start off with this. We can hear you. So, Sam, how you doing tonight, brother? Thank you for joining.
Everything is great, man. Everything is great.
Good, good, good. Give us a short rundown of who is Sam Glickman.
Well, I am a 27-year veteran in the barber industry. I am the founder and organizer for the Georgia Barbers Network. I also host a show here in Atlanta every January called the NBBS, the National Barbers and Beauty Symposium. And I am the owner of Provato Grooming and Provato Beauty. And for the most part, I'm just an organizer and a networker at its best. And that's pretty much it.
Listen, we appreciate your presence, brother, and we thank you for joining us tonight on this panel. The next person that we're going to bring in tonight is Mr. Thomas James. Mr. Thomas, how you doing, sir?
I'm good, sir. How are you doing, Daryl? You all right?
I'm great, brother. I'm great. I appreciate you being here, giving us your time tonight, sir. Please explain to everybody, who is Mr. Thomas James?
As Daryl said, Thomas James, master barber, master barber educator, also a licensed cosmetologist. I would say own, but it's actually my parents. So I manage my parents' shops, third generation. Historically, it's the first black barber shop in all of Rutherford County. So I mean that's a huge pillar of the community. Instructor, no longer own a school in Murfreesboro. Not recently. End of last year, ended up having to let that go. That situation went south. And yeah, I work with a few state boards, not only here in Tennessee, but in Nevada as well. I do continuing education for instructors. I do a few here in Tennessee, and then I skip a few states. And as Sam said, you know, just here, I network. I like to bridge gaps, and yeah, you know, I'm here for it. I like what Daryl is having to say. I know a few of you all on this panel here. So yeah, I'm just glad to be asked to even participate. So thanks.
Great. We appreciate that, sir. Next up, we're going to bring in Miss Tarsha Andrews. Ms. Andrews, I apologize. I was trying to do ladies first, and I apologize. I overlooked your name. Please.
No, it's okay. No. Hi, how are you all? How's everyone doing? I'm Tasha. I've been in the industry for over 30 years. I am glad to be a part of this panel because it's definitely needed for us to come together and make sure this doesn't happen. I'm looking forward to more of these town halls and to see where this goes. Hopefully we stick to it and keep moving forward, and this is something that's the beginning of something great.
Most definitely. And we appreciate your presence. Next, we're going to bring in Mr. Tyreek Jackson. Mr. Jackson.
All right. Thank you for just having me tonight. I'm excited to be here to be a part of this. A little bit about my story. I've been in the industry almost 28 years now, like Sam, about 27 years. I did cosmetology and barber training. Got my manager's license and teacher's license, opened up schools, competed at Bronner, won, various competitions, but my passion has always been school. When I was 18, I said I wanted to open up a school. When I turned 38, I opened up my school. So it's been some time since then, about 20 years from the time I started in cosmetology school to when I actually opened up the school. In 2013 and 14 is when we began to open up Premier Barber Institute. It's the only accredited and Title IV funded school in the greater Philadelphia area. And more to what this conversation is about, I worked in Delaware at a school, and we helped to change some laws in Delaware. So I'm hoping that tonight I can help give you some guidance, maybe some tools and some resources that'll help you all in fighting this battle of deregulation in Georgia.
Most definitely. And we definitely need that added to the conversation. Appreciate your presence, Mr. Jackson. Next, we're going to bring in Brother Allah.
Can you guys see me now?
Peace. Can you hear me? Peace.
Yes, I can hear you, King. How are you?
Okay, I'm doing great. How's everybody doing? I'm a law of mathematics master barber from Massachusetts. I'm a mentee of a 49-year veteran barber. Dual license in this state, barbershop owner 12 years, and it's my pleasure to add on positive energy to this conversation and move our industry forward.
Solid. Thank you for your presence, brother.
Thank you.
Next, we're going to bring in Mr. Paul Jones. Looking quite sharpened up in there. Can you cut your mic on, please, sir?
I'm having a little trouble with the mic. That's okay. How y'all doing?
Good morning. Good afternoon.
All right, so I'm Paul Jones. I know I'm a little dark. I apologize. My lighting is situated different. I am from Baltimore, Maryland. I've been in the hair, license for 30 plus years. I've been in the hair business pretty much my whole life. My mom's a senior cosmetologist, and I started off in the shop there. As Tariq does, we both entered battles together, entered battles in different stages, and now we're here talking about deregulation. So thank you for bringing me to the panel.
No, thank you, sir. We thank you for your presence, and we appreciate your time. And then, last but not least, we have the commissioner himself, Mr. Chris Burke. Mr. Burke.
Thank you, sir. My name is Chris Burke. I'm the commissioner of the Barber Society on Facebook. That's probably the biggest challenge I've had and grown that over the past 10 years. And if I could say anything about my journey through the barber industry, I love the school system. It was not good for me, but it was one that groomed me into maturity. I wrote a book about it, and I'm really proud to say, and you know, people don't do this. This is my 1-year anniversary for having a barber license. Before that, I lived on my cosmetology license, and that was from all the way to like 92. So I've done everything in the industry pretty much before that and all the way up to now. But to have that barber license, to tell you the truth, I cried for 45 minutes. You know, just like, whoa, I made it. Because I always tell people, like, you know, I've done everything but the simplest thing and didn't get my license. And so I've been teaching that for over 10 years. Thank you.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you, Commissioner. We appreciate it. And so let's get into it, folks. Right. I tried to set the tone the best way possible so that we can have a robust conversation. Listen, this is a lot to divulge and a lot to digest, so we won't get to it all in just one meeting, but I think we have enough to go off of. And so I guess the biggest thing right now is just really getting to the problem, really understanding the problem. And so I'm going to defer to Ms. Shealy. She has done a lot of work from a governmental standpoint, and she understands that process well. So I'm going to ask to you, so the problem itself, how do you see it from where you sit?
Well, you know, we started our efforts back in 2011 as an organization. And I say we started watching, you know, something. I knew something was happening with the industry. I saw professionals that were making six figures now get second jobs. And there was just this lack of enthusiasm in the industry. Our health and safety standards, we just didn't seem to care about continuing education. I saw a lot of problems with the industry. So I started going to the state board meetings. I started going to, I got involved with a bigger national organization that took me to Washington, D.C. I lobbied on behalf of our industry for tax policies. For those of you that are salon owners, you know that you are double taxed in this industry. Not only are you paying taxes when an employee gets paid on their tips, you're taxed on the tips, and the employee is taxed on the tip, and you're taxed on that tip as well as an owner. So there's double taxation happening in the industry that the restaurant industry has gotten credit for many years ago that we never got. So bringing it fast forward, we started our organization and our efforts, and we started tracking hard data. And we actually literally have, from state to state across this country, we're able to tell you all the bills that affect our industry. We track this. We're diligent about tracking it. We've been diligent for many years. So just to give you some hard numbers and some real examples of how bad this really has been for a very long time. I mean, we're talking about it now, but we've been sounding the alarm for a very long time. So just to give you some hard numbers, in 2015, we tracked 308 bills. In 2016, we tracked 343 bills. In 2017, we tracked 409 bills. In 2018, we tracked 355 bills. In 2019, we tracked 266 bills. In 2020, we have 422 bills on our radar. That number will probably be in the 300s because we're going to, some of them that we can eliminate. But as you can see, we've had hundreds and hundreds of bills that affect our industry that go through our state legislature for a long, long time. This is the numbers that we have. And what is so disheartening is that beauty and barber professionals, it saddens me that, you know, we don't seem that there's a, I know we love what we do, but we don't really see the correlation between policy and politics and what we do. and how it all is intertwined. So there's a lot of political education that needs to happen, where people understand that the dollars and the money that's coming through your pockets right now is dictated by what's happening in politics. We have bills right now in this 2020 legislature. Indiana, I just saw where, but deregulation is not a new threat to us. And we got to figure out how to reach our industry and have these conversations and engage, not just talk about it. Life happened, COVID happened, but we can't just sit back. We got to really be intentional about addressing what's happening to us in politics and in policy.
Wow, that's a lot. That is a lot. And so I guess my next question is, how do we get access to this type of information? Is it normally put up on these state websites, right? Is it normally just distributed at the state board meetings, or is it just a thing of where it's reserved just for associations to have access to, or groups of industry professionals to have access to? How does that piece work?
Well, you can if through our organization, and that's what we do. We actually pay for our data. It ain't cheap and it ain't free because we have an actual database and we collect our data. This information, if you are in, you can go to your state legislature's website. Any professional can do this. You can go to your state legislature's website and you can query. You can do a search for bills specific to our industry. But we do the work for you as an organization. That's what we do with Politics, Beauty, and Barber. That's what we do as the concerned beauty professionals. So we do it for professionals so they don't have to do it for themselves. Our members, they get updates, they get alerts. We know what's going on. Those of us that are engaged in our organization, we know what's going on, and we do what we can in our prospective states, but we've never had enough of a core. Our goal as an organization has always been, and just hear me how minimal our ask has been as an organization. We've asked to have 2 professionals for each entity, 2 cosmetologists, 2 estheticians, 2 nail techs, and 2 barbers. So our goal has always been 8 in each state. If we can have 8 professionals in each state, we could collaborate and say, yeah, this is happening in Texas, this is happening in Illinois, this is happening in Iowa, and we need to collaborate and we need to work together to fight this. But until we start attacking the bills and these policies as an army, as a unified force, you can go do it in your state, but each state is a battleground. It's a battleground. This is a war, an attack on our entire industry that we have to fight collectively. And until we learn to do that, we're just gonna continue to win and lose battles while this war is continuously being waged against us.
That's heavy. But it's the truth and it's the reality. And unfortunately, that message is not talked about enough. So I would like to defer now to some of the school owners, to some of the educators in the group. So where do you all fit with this problem, and how do you all see it from your perspective? So Mr. Jackson, Mr. James.
Yeah, I can speak to it. So a few things. Most barbers in the prospective states, they don't reach out to the boards. They don't connect with the boards. They're not talking with the boards. They don't have a relationship with the boards. And so that's just at a state level. What Shealy was talking about was politics and policy. We talk about going to the polls every 4 years, but there are these small elections that happen that aren't the presidential election that really affect what's happening in your state, what's happening locally in your area. And those people are the ones that are responsible for helping to be a liaison for you and an advocate for some of the change that you're trying to create. In 2013, when I was working in Delaware, now I'm a licensed professional in Pennsylvania, but I was running and operating a school as the campus director in Delaware. And right before I retired at that place and opened my school in 2013, I was in the middle of changing some laws that took place. House Bill 339 was a hybrid co-op licensing program. It was the only program of its kind. In order to change things, we sat down with the governor, right? We sat down with the state board chair, and we collectively, with a group of individuals, like she said, she's only looking for 2 from each part. We gathered people together, and we voiced our concerns on how this could work. We identified the problem. In this particular case, the problem was there weren't enough schools to accommodate the illegal license activity happening in that state. So do we want to penalize people for not getting licenses? Do you want to help people to get licenses? And how does that work? We know what the problem is. There was too many people who were practicing that weren't licensed. What's the solution? And so what we came up with was a solution to the problem. There was a hybrid program where they were getting training. That was a law that needed to be changed. When you're talking about battling, government entities, when it comes to the issues that we're talking about as far as deregulation, it's so much bigger than just some bureaucrat who doesn't really care about our industry. They're not a practitioner. But when you ask very simple questions, you'll get really simple answers, right? And it's not about asking just the right questions. It's asking the right questions to the right people, and then getting the right people in place to help fight for you and advocate for you. When you look at all the entities that have been able to fight for their rights, the gay community, LGBT, they've been able to do things that the civil rights and just blacks alone have been fighting for years and haven't been able to get it done, because what they have in place is people who are lobbying for them, and they have money backing their efforts. That's the thing. What Shirley's talking about is she's doing all the heavy lifting. What she needs is 8 people from 8 states to help fight on the front lines for her. She's already doing all the hard work, right? She knows all the data. She has all the information. What we need is backing. So in Pennsylvania, we have an organization called PAPSA, PAPSA. It's run by Debbie Dunn, and the executive person is Sean. I forget his name, but I can send you guys their information. They're an open book. They're going to go nationwide. Right now, currently, they're only in Pennsylvania. However, they've been helping assist in other states, especially when it comes to deregulation. So they're abreast on what laws are taking place, what are the challenges that we're having as an industry, and how we can get a little bit better with controlling our industry and not allowing the government entities and the bureaucrats to do it. What it is most of these states, and what Ms. Shealy was talking about, is there's not a pathway. No one wants to go and take out the machete and hacksaw the pathway through the jungle. They just don't want to do it. So one of the things that's really, really important is having a pathway. So when you have a person who has already done it in a state, who has fought against it, who has a direct line of sight on how you combat the conversation of deregulation, then that's what they do. They become your advocate. They become the person that you need. And so what happens for that is then you have other states, they want to know, well, how did you do it? Show me what you did to get to where you were trying to go. And that's really what it is. It's about, laziness. They want to sit at their balls and have their meetings and do the thing and raise the money, right? But they don't really care about what it is, because big businesses like Holiday Hair, Cost Cutters, and things like that, what they're saying is, hey, let's open the market so I don't have to hire licensed personnel. I want to be able to hire and train whoever I want, who can do what I need them to do for my business. And when they're looking at that, they want to take away from, and they're saying make it a free market. They want to take away from the licensed practitioner who's creating a quality service. I think there's room for both, but deregulation is off the table. And when I say asking questions, what happened in a local barbershop here in Lancaster was local legislation came in. He was part of deregulation licensing, but he was coming to a barbershop. And the barber said to him, I'm going to go and get my weed whacker quick. And he's like, for what? He says, to cut your hair. And he goes, no, you're not going to cut my hair with the weed whacker. He goes, why not? And he goes, because that's not what it's for. And he said, you're against licensing regulations. You want to deregulate. If you deregulate, then anybody can use whatever they want, whatever tools. And he goes, no, I think that's a bit extreme. And he goes, no, that's exactly what you're opening the door for, because there'll be no regulations and no guidance around it. And what that did was change his perspective, because he was going to a licensed practitioner to get his hair serviced. And the barber was very smart about saying, I'm going to use my weed whacker to cut your hair today. And he was adamant about not getting it done.
That's
Why?
right.
Because it doesn't make sense for you to cut my hair with the weed whacker. Very simple, really stupid, right? But what it did was it really, really helped to get people to understand what it is. So when I say, going after lobbyists, I'm not talking about you need a lobbyist. What you need is an advocate. You need people who can go in and fight the fight for you. But most of the people, they don't have direction. They don't know where to go. So PAPSA is an organization who has done it here in Pennsylvania. And then AACS, Association for Cosmetology Schools. I have a friend, his name, hold on, let me get it here. I want to make sure I'm getting his last name right.
This is what we're going to do, brother. This is what we're going to do, because I want to make sure that we're going to get everybody in to be able to chime in on it. Those resources that you're given are golden, all right? And we're going to need those. So if we can collect those from you, and we'll make sure
I can share them with you,
so that we can share those, because in the end we're going to try to tie it all together.
I got you. So just in closing, to pass the mic, Michael Howman, who is part of AACS, they fought in Florida against deregulation and they won. So they have a pathway. PAPSA, they fought against it in Pennsylvania and they won. It's still a continuing fight. It's not over, right? But they keep winning on the battleground, on the battlefield. So, absolutely, because they have a strategy, they have the people in place. So this is really, really going to help. And I'm hoping that these tools and these resources that I have will help you guys in what you need to do as far as deregulation in Georgia.
Most definitely. Well, and the conversation is broad, my brother. We're talking about all 50 states, and so that was some good information. Mr. Thomas.
Yeah.
You had a piece that you wanted to put in from an educator standpoint, school standpoint.
Yeah, man. Actually, and I like what Tamara was saying as far as the 8 in each state. I kind of wanted to piggyback on that and ask if she had people in Tennessee, which I was reading in the comments here. Just about, like, let's see if we get some people. This platform would be a good place. I don't know where everyone is located. I know a couple of you guys are down in Georgia. I know, Tariq he's in Pennsylvania. Myself, I'm in Tennessee. I think that, as who said that? Tasha said that, yeah, for us to even use this platform as something to start, because I think that between everyone's backgrounds, whether that's, like time served, educationally, legally, that we're all experts in our respective field and in our respective lanes. And I think that if we continue, we will have 8 awesome, ideas, right? And then, is that how many people are here? We have 9. We'll have 9 awesome ideas, right? I think that if we pick, 1 or 2 goals that we really want to shoot after, I think we can get that and achieve them. So, I mean, because like Tariq was saying with the with PAPSA, right? If they are there to be like that protective shield for some people, some groups like Daryl, you and I were talking the other day, then if we were to become a miniature version of PAPSA, right? I mean, I think that would be a great start. And like I said, we have, like Tariq was saying, for Miss Sheila, that she's already done the legwork, right? We've already got that data. She already knows like what we have to do, right? And then you have Brother Tariq, who's like, yo, we've got a couple of groups, we have connects that have already laid out how you get this stuff done. So instead of us reinventing the wheel, like I'm all for just hearing, like how can we push forward? Because with everybody on here, and all of our connects, I don't see a reason why we would not be able to move forward. I believe that this industry, all of us in our respective fields have always thought about deregulation is bad, don't do that. But then there are a ton of other things that we could accomplish if we knew what the steps were and how we're supposed to do them. Like Tariq was saying earlier, that a lot of barbers, cosmos, whomever, that they don't go to the state board meetings. But also, it's not necessarily your state board that says whether or not these rules go to play, go to bat. It's the governor beforehand. It goes to your house and your senators. And so, before we just start shooting off with, all these tons of ideas, man, we all agree that deregulation is bad. We all have our own beliefs as far as, why big name companies are trying to deregulate. But at some point we got to say, all right, we know who our quote unquote enemy is. Like now, let's go to war, man. Like what are we going to do next? So, I can talk about the education side if you guys want, but I think long story short, man, we're all in agreement to push this needle forward. And let's find an objective and let's go to it.
Right, most definitely, Mr. James, and appreciate that input. And to be honest with you, when we were having this conversation about this town hall, this industry is filled with a lot of people who are considered leaders. Okay, but this room is small. There's a reason why this room is small, because the people that are at this table have shown and proven that they know how to get things done, and they don't let grass grow up around their feet, right? And so what's going to wind up happening tonight, at the end of the night, we're going to wind up gathering all of these resources. We're going to wind up recapping, and then we're going to come back with the action plan. Again, tonight is not long enough for us to hash out everything, but we definitely are going to have some strong action plans coming away from this. So before we move on, so we have an understanding of what the problem is. So now we have to talk about these solutions. We have to talk about like tangible solutions. We talked about the resources that's available and all of those things. And when I say let's talk solutions, what I'm saying is let's talk about things that work, right? So Tariq gave some great examples of other organizations, in the industry that are doing things. But we also need to make sure that we look externally outside of our industry to be able to compare and contrast how some of these things can come together, right? So when we look at the pipe fitters, when we look at the electricians, when we look at, all these other industries, they have tangible solutions that work for them, that protect them so that they don't have to deal with this kind of stuff. So let's talk about that a little bit, right? So let's talk. Hey,
Daryl, real quick. Okay, cool. Quick question. Can we find out, or if you guys don't mind replying, where is everybody from? I just like knowing where, who I'm talking to. Like, I know Daryl, you're still in Georgia, right? And then Tariq, Pennsylvania. Brother Paul Jones, I've never met you before. Neither you, Commissioner Chris. Nice to meet you guys. You as well, Brother Allah Mathematics and Tasha. I've never met you guys before, so pleasure to meet you guys. Pleasure to talk to you guys. Where are you guys from?
I'm from Boston.
Bloomington, Indiana now.
I'm from Baltimore, Maryland. I met you at Bronner Brothers. 2 days ago. I bought your book from Bronner Brothers.
Okay. Yeah, how you been, Paul? You been all right?
I'm good, brother.
Good. Your light threw me off.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to fix it. I'm working on it.
It's cool. Tariq, how you been, man? Sorry to get off course, but this is like a reunion here. I'm sorry I couldn't meet you guys or talk with y'all last year, man. Corona got the best of you. But Tamara, I hope you're doing great. Congratulations on your victory again. And yeah, Sam, I hate that I wasn't able to see you again last January, man. Sorry, Daryl. Just I don't get out much, and so yeah, I'm glad to see everybody again and all that good stuff. I love this call, man. It's great,
man. It's the cabin fever.
Yeah, great what you're
Did
putting
everybody
together.
say though where they were from? Because I didn't hear
I'm from
them
Massachusetts.
actually say it.
A law
I don't know
mathematics.
anybody, so let's start from that. So
Sam from Atlanta.
okay.
I'm from Georgia.
Massachusetts.
Georgia.
I'm from Tennessee.
Okay.
Yeah, and so ultimately we have different places represented, different state boards, different perspectives. And so this will get real interesting as we start to do a deep dive into putting together a strong strategy. But while we have Brother Paul talking, Brother Paul, why don't you give us from your perspective what some potential solutions look like, even with whether it be internally or whether it be externally. What does that look like for you?
Okay. Well, I say this, and I've always been a huge advocate of unity amongst barbers. We all in our field, I feel as though we're separated by groups or cliques or hanging out, and I always wanted to be that person to kind of form alliance between groups of people, because as we all know, as one finger have never knocked anybody out. It always takes a fist, and sometimes to win a fight you need two fists. So I always feel as the more people that's involved in the situation always helps the situation.
Got you. Solid. So when it comes to these solutions, brother Allah.
Yes, sir. First of all, peace, everybody. I heard a lot of things and a lot of thoughts were sparked. Deregulation. What I would like to see is a new vanguard of barbers unified and a component that connects the barber boards to the barbers. Because in my state in particular, the barber board is made up of lawyers. There's no real barber to the bones on the board. So they don't really know our concerns and issues. And the thinking is from an old school perspective. Like currently, we're dealing with coronavirus, right? So there's a lot of shop owners who weren't paying taxes. There's a lot of barbers who weren't paying taxes, and they can't apply for no grants, no loans. There's nobody to interpret that for them or interpret this time for them, because this is a new time. We've never been in the virus. So also, I have a couple of young men I'm working with who have a criminal record, and there's no language on the application of how to you submit a query before you take your barber exam. Because in this state, if you have a criminal record, you have to submit a background check from the barber board before you take your exam. So there's a lot of things that has to be changed from the old school and the old way of thinking. And some of the things that were said today sparked a lot of thought, because I see that we have a common issue. One of the things I like to see is more emphasis on dental health and money management in the shows, because that's not talked about. It's all like cutting and partying, and there's no real things for you to take. Well, the real issues we deal with as barbers is not giving credence, like cutting for money and things of that nature. So I heard you, and I'm gonna think it over what I can do and how I can add on. But I definitely hear the component. We need somebody to talk to the board and convey our issues. Because in my state, I have 6,000 barbers, 1,800 stylists, and the unlicensed barbers are running rampant. That price regulation, that's something we worked on, generating a bill to the governor that's saying, listen, in the state of Massachusetts, can we come up with some sort of minimal price and $25 a haircut? And on the other side of that, we'll give all grade school children 1 through 12 a free haircut with the honor roll in hand if you're able to introduce this bill to the floor. So there's nobody to navigate the legalese for us everyday barbers and the state reps or the Congress or even the governor's office. So those are some of my thoughts about deregulation, but I'm definitely against it, because it'd be like the OK Corral. With all these unlicensed barbers now, it's getting like that. There's 8 barbers on one block and open up 24 hours a day. What's the barber's hours? Can you be open 24 hours a day, or is it 9 to 5 or 9 to 8? And I know each state is different, and each state has different rules and regulations and prices, but these are some of the concerns that us in Massachusetts are dealing with currently.
Most definitely, and those are great points you brought up, brother. And shout out to you for your efforts in pushing the issue there in your state. It takes a lot to deal with these issues and going to these legislators, especially when there's not a clear system about how to do it. And to the point of what we were speaking to earlier, I do want to take a quick second. We do have one attendee who was not able to get in. I guess the room is full, but I want to give a shout out to Rob Diaz, and my barber brethren from Farouk System. He is representing Houston, Texas, and he had a lot that he wanted to add to this conversation. I spoke with him a little bit earlier. If you're not familiar, Texas went through their own battle about 2 years ago. And it actually lined up working in somewhat of a neutral situation, to where they did not deregulate the licensing, but they were able to get the number of hours required reduced. Right. So rather than being at 1,500 hours, I believe it was 1,000 hours that it was reduced to, because the complaint was that they were wasting a lot of time in school and not really doing anything. Which, as an educator, I don't know. I take issue with that, just based off of the fact that there's plenty to learn in this industry, and there's a lot to do. But again, everybody doesn't teach the same. Everybody's classroom is different. Everybody's school is different. So I did want to add that on into the conversation. Moving on, I want to get some input from Brother Burke. Brother Burke, you've been working in this industry for a long time, and you have definitely been doing your part as well. Solutions. What does solutions look like for us at this point?
There's a lot of solutions. I think, each one of us individually can take a little bit of our time and energy to put towards it, just in our own space. But then each one of us have different availability on different platforms. I will say this, because I loved what was just said about changing the stage of these shows and whatnot, and offering more. Nobody believes me when I talk about how Tamara and I sat with Claude Anderson. And it was just crazy. And ever since then, my life has changed. Nobody came to see him. I don't want to say nobody, but very few people did, because they wanted to see the barber show or network or look at the gold tools and stuff. And if we can take our leadership and just move it from that type of thing and be able to sit down and talk to people like Claude Anderson, or on the same day, was so crazy, because we also had Knights of the Razor guy, and he was there, so he was talking about that, and that was not important to the people, so we can change it from the platforms and even keep these narratives of deregulation in their eyes, not just because of there's an issue. But, when I met Tamara, she was doing it full time in TBS, full time. It was never anything there was never any dry moment of what she was presenting in our group. So I thank you for that.
Most definitely. And I think that what I hear, the common theme is that we have to realize at some point that everybody that comes with you can't go with you. Okay. And that everybody that is here with you is not here for you when it comes to leadership. All right. And so I think we have to make sure that we define that, because, again, this is not everybody's fight, right? It takes a special breed to be able to put up the wherewithal, to put up the endurance to be able to deal with these issues, and to have the discipline to commit to it. So I want to go to Mr. Glickman, Mr. Sam. Sam, you have an organization here in Georgia Barbers Association, that you have had for a while. You and I have had multiple conversations about it, and it is a vehicle that is going to be mobilizing here real soon. I know you have some plans for it, but from a organizational standpoint, what do you see that an organization can bring in terms of solutions to a issue like this?
Yeah, so I think Tamara said it best. One, let me clarify, we're not an organization, we're just a network. We're on the threshold of becoming an association, which I think is what's needed here in the state of Georgia, especially when we can count on two hands how many inspectors and representatives we have moving around in the streets on behalf of the state board. For me, I have to really define the excuses that the state is using in regards to why they would want to deregulate, right? Because it seems like right now the excuse is we don't have the manpower. We want the counties to be able to govern, themselves. We want the cities to be able to govern themselves, removing the state from the responsibility of it. But if we go back to what Tamara said originally, I think if we work together in numbers, how hard is it for veterans to volunteer their time to help the state? From a solution standpoint, to help the state inspect shops, to help the state regulate, to help the state for whatever it is that they need. It's hard for us to even communicate. I remember the town hall that we had with our state board here in Georgia that you hosted, Daryl, and that was a difficult process. It was only so much that we were able to cover within a 1 hour time frame. And it was almost as if it was a waste of time because we couldn't get a whole lot out. The state board, spent basically their 15 minutes letting us know everything that they're doing, and spent the rest of the 45 minutes not listening to everything that we were saying. And so I think it goes back originally again to what Tamara was saying and saying, we got to have some muscle. We have to be positioned enough to communicate strongly with our state. And if we can't speak to our board directly, we have to be able to have a voice with the Secretary of State. And politics, I think, is the answer. Again, going back to what Tamara said, you can't have a voice in your state without being political, meaning that, you have to connect, you have to fundraise, you have to have a hand inside. We had a really good friend of ours that was running for Secretary of State. I wish she would have gotten it, because that would have given us a voice as a barber and beauty industry here in the state of Georgia. But I think politics, unification, and networking, and taking advantage of all the resources that we have collectively as an industry, to go to the state board is the biggest solution we can have. I'm willing to volunteer my time to help the state in whatever areas they need help, because they can't use that as an excuse here in the state of Georgia. And I don't know about you, Daryl, but I've been open now going on 3 years, and I haven't had an inspector come by this shop yet. So it's a problem,
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, no, it is a challenge. As a matter of fact, Sam, I actually get, we both of my shops get picked on. They come by pretty regular, but the difference now is, all things boil down to money. And so our inspectors now operate not just on our industry, but all industries, right? So
Right.
when they come to a city, they're not just checking barbershops and salons, they're checking funeral homes and gas stations and all kind of other stuff. So,
Right.
so that is an issue within itself. And
Not to cut you off, but
Sure.
I understand their reasoning for why they would want to deregulate, right?
Mhm.
But what they ignore is all the hard work and the standards that have been put in place for us to become professionals. So the disrespect is us having to go to school, sacrifice all of our time to be in the positions that we're in exchange for them wanting easy work, or making their jobs easier. And it's a disconnect. And so that's why I say communication has to be at the forefront there. If it's bodies that you need, there are professionals, literally, there are professionals that will volunteer their time,
That's right.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
off 3 days a week.
Now, can I add something to that, Daryl? Because
Yes, please go ahead.
he brought up a good point. I talked to the state board today with this young man I'm helping, And I asked them about the inspections. I said, well, how many inspections do you do a year? How can we show and prove this? And I asked the lady who happened to be an owner of the shop, when's the last time her shop got inspected? Because I know they haven't inspected me in 5 years. And we were talking about accountability. So if you can't show me hard numbers, then who do I talk above you? Is your boss the governor? If we're saying these same issues for 5 years and the governor's not giving us clear and concise answers, like when we talked to the governor during Corona, and we said us as entrepreneurs are closed down, we should be the first one to get our money from the state as independent contractors. That was a big issue in my particular state. And if we can't get any answers, who do we talk to that's above the governor? Because really the governor is our boss in our state. Mm-hmm. So pushing the narrative, we have almost 2,500 barbers and stylists that are all due paying members and probably all registered voters. So, and we sat here many times bumping our head to unite the barbers in this state. So how can we unify our power and get an agenda and an action plan to these elected officials to hear our concerns? But when I asked the barber board today, they didn't have no answers how many inspections they. We have 6 inspectors. You know what I'm saying? In this state, they can't be everywhere. They usually only come when somebody calls them. But, and also, this last point I'll say, it's $2,500 an unlicensed barber in this state, $100 an infraction. So if the issue is money, and we got all these unlicensed barbers running rampant, 8 barbershops on one block that's getting licenses from you in some form or fashion, there's money to be had. So definitely we need to change the narrative and hold people accountable. That's something I thought
Can
about.
I comment on something just in regards to what you're saying?
Yes, yes.
As far as the inspections go, a lot of if you open up a barbershop and you're not licensed, inspectional services is required to be the ones to inspect you, not the state board. And I spoke to the state board numerous times. They're not going to go in. They're not allowed to go into a business that's not listed as a salon or a barbershop. It has to be inspectional services because they're operating outside of the zoning that they're zoned for. So they're not gonna, there's nothing that state board will do.
But what I'm saying, after you get that application signed by INS, the plumbing, electric, and the lighting, you bring it to the state board and then they come out, right?
I understand, but they're not listed. If you open, there's been a few salons that opened up. Now I'm as a stylist, I'm a stylist, I'm not a barber. I forgot to tell you guys that. Now, when these salons are opening up and they're not licensed, that means they're not even registered as a salon in the state board.
Right.
And
right.
they're not going to be inspected by state board because they're not allowed to go in because they're not a salon. Inspectional services that's for the city are the ones that are supposed to inspect them. So there's a lot of beauty supply stores and braiding shops, and there's a lot of businesses that are open that are running as salons, sinks and everything, but they're not getting shut down because inspectional services, they don't even have the manpower, and they're not even looking at the businesses really. Right. And state board will get notification, but they said there's nothing that we can do because they're not listed as salons.
Right. Yeah. Like I said, those are all different states. Because I don't know if the states I've worked in had even an organization like that, a setup like that. But the other thing, too, that people don't understand is that the licensing is like a whole infrastructure of accountability, which is exactly what you were describing. You can't stand in a place if you don't not registered. And you know what I mean? So all that is one whole thing that people want that don't understand. And then so when we talk, it's really weird now for all the stuff that they're doing in the middle of a COVID thing, because we're supposed to be standing on sanitation first. And in most states, the state boards are underneath the health department. And then also, I remember the first time I ever read like the whole report that was coming back from the state when they wanted to shut it down. I think it was either North Carolina or South Carolina. They said that they get like 12 calls a year. And that's, you know, and if they get any more, it's somebody trying to shut somebody else down because they're making money. And if the 12 were just something that's $5 that can go to see referee and I mean, CVS, and then just, it's like, put it back here. And that was the problem. So those things are getting shut down. And the difference between barbering and cosmetology, barbering tends not to do, well, I don't know in other states if they do continuing education, but continuing education is what cosmetology is getting all their money from. You see what I'm saying? I mean, it's expensive to do that stuff at the show. And it's all going to our state board in Indiana and Ohio. And they're sufficient. So the other ones are running out. That's why they merge them. And when they merge them, then they've got redundancy. And with the Republican mindset, that's like wasting money. And you just said you've got barbershops and beauty salons in the same space, but they got to send two different people to go organize it. Because just like you said, they can't go into the place. The cosmetology can't go into the barber spot, and the barber spot can't come in, but they can go they can cross paths in 5 minutes and be driving all over the place. And so they're saying that's a waste of money. So that's why a lot of this stuff is going on. So I just wanted to chime in on that, but thanks for sharing because that kind of opened that up.
Most definitely.
I know in Maryland, it's like $25 to $50 per person that comes out and inspects the shop. So when I talk to the people at State Board, they say normally they don't like sending people out because it costs. They have to pay so much of amount of money for them to come out, and the people that I talk to that come, they say they don't get paid. They only get to do maybe 8 shops a day, and their check maybe $100. They said it ain't worth their time or gas to drive around. I know that's in Maryland. I don't know about any other state. So
I have one town in Massachusetts with 200 barbershops in it, only 60,000 people population. Lawrence, Massachusetts. Look it up. Like that's preposterous from a legalese standpoint. How do you get that many barbershop licenses?
Right. I think it's like 1,800 or something like that in Maryland. Something like that.
So the accountability is what's always being deferred. Everybody's deferring. I went to the state board yesterday with that young man. They deferred me. Call this number. They'll call you back.
So
we need an alliance. That's what we need. I'm sorry for cutting you off, Tariq. We definitely need an alliance, and it looked like, and I hope I'm saying your name right, Tamara is should be a leader, and I think she should be the person that we should all contact and get this ball rolling because us in each state, should seem like she's the one who really pretty much got the ball rolling.
She did all the heavy lifting.
Soldier, I'm definitely down. If you need me to go bum rush the doors, you already call my phone. I'm pretty sure, whatever you need me for, I'm there. So that's all I'm saying.
Tamara, I as well, I'm a part of another network here called UBA. And what we've been able to do is sit with legislation, sit with our local legislators, elected officials, and really help to push the narrative of why we're important. I know Sam got a chance to hear some of that in some of those talks that I was doing with the panel discussions from people from state to state, and we were going live on Instagram doing this. So I'm a resource for you if you need me to connect with the state. I'm friends with one of the chairmen who's on the board. There are spaces available. Each state is totally different. I'm sure you're aware of that. But when I wanted to share this to Brother Allah and the commissioner, when you begin to go down the rabbit holes of accountability for checking shops and things like that, that actually fits to their narrative. That's why we need to deregulate. So you need to be careful of having those conversations. They're important. But let's focus on why we need to stay licensed first, right? Once we get that together so that we're not deregulating the standard that is issued by each state, then you begin to have the conversation of now, how can we increase accountability? Because we pay licensing fees, right? That helps to pay for a lot of those things. Now, my shop has been inspected plenty of times. Inspected when we open, inspected 2 years later, inspected once a year, every 5 years. Like it has happened, and it's different the way they're doing it here and where they're not doing it in other areas. In Philadelphia alone, there are 3,000 shops. There's only 3,000 licensed professionals in the state of Pennsylvania. So it's a little over 3,000. So you know, this is an ongoing problem. Coming up with a strategy, coming up with solutions to help is one thing. But when you begin to talk about, oh, we need more accountability from you guys to do your job, yeah, that is true. But the more you put more work on them about doing certain things, the more they're going to encourage. This is why we need to deregulate, so we can step away from this and not have to focus on what you think is important. We don't want that to happen. We want to focus on why we need to stay licensed, why our professional services are important, and why we're not going to deregulate. If we stick with that and fight that battle first, we can attack all the small little battles moving forward.
That's a good point, Tyreek. Very, very good point.
Can I ask you guys a question? Daryl,
Yes.
you mentioned, I don't know if it was you that mentioned about Texas.
Right.
You were saying how they didn't, they weren't able to change anything. And then I had looked up before, in Texas, I know with the braiding, that they allowed them to braid without a license. I think all they have to do is get a sanitization thing, which is like 35 hours or something like that.
Tennessee is the same way.
And once they get that, they can open up a braid shop. So to me, that's exactly what we don't want. Because 35 hours, that's nothing.
I know in Maryland, you don't have to have anything. You can just open the shop up and start braiding.
Again, those things that you feel are important to you is another conversation as why they want to deregulate. You have to listen. You got to start somewhere. I feel you. If you're working with the public and you're doing hair and you're doing certain things, there should be a process. I'm a school owner. I'm passionate about school. I'm not fighting for this because I'm a school owner. I'm passionate about this because this has been my life. I went to school. I know the importance of school, and I see the people who don't go to school and the troubles that they have. Just like Allah was saying, and the commissioner talking about, you know, we need more health and financial training, and these are the things that we have incorporated in our program. But I'm only one school in one state, in one county, in one area of the state. I'm hoping that the influence is pouring out and other schools are seeing it, which is why I post so much on social media what we're doing, so that other students at other schools can say, hey, we need to step our game up and things like that. But again, if you talk about, oh, that's not fair, in order to change any of that, you have to go through legislation. Those are all laws that go through legislation. Your local person in your area can get to the person who's above him. They can get it to the Senate, they can get to the House. It starts somewhere, and it starts with you. If that's how you feel, you get a group of people, organize that, explain the why, though, not just I don't like it. There has to be an understanding, and for them, it's about money. If you license them, they make money. You make money. If they're licensed, then you have jurisdiction over them. If you have jurisdiction over them, then you can fine them. That's what you were talking about earlier. They can't go into certain places that aren't licensed because they don't have jurisdiction over the illegal activity. That's what's important. So in order to change that, you have to change legislation. You have to go through the law process.
No, I understand that. That's what we're talking about. But I'm saying it's already done clearly if they already have that in writing. So that it's already happened. I was trying to clarify when he was explaining that it wasn't whatever they did, it made it not happen, but it actually did happen if that's what it is now.
So Tasha, if you don't mind, I'll kind of jump in right there. Texas is a unique. Texas is one of these states where we have to literally keep our eye on them all the time. Texas is they don't convene every year. They actually have a session every other year. They are in session this year. And from the years that we have tracked legislation in Texas, I mean, Texas has 10, 15, 20 bills at a time per legislature that come out that affect our industry. What you're talking about with the hair braiders, I'm not sure if you know the story behind Isis Brantley.
Yeah.
So you know that she was arrested, and then she wanted to, you know, the braiding licensure came after that, and then she wanted to do a school, and they wanted to make her into a barber school. But her argument for why, you know, she doesn't believe that we need licensure at all. Her argument and this is a bigger fight, and it's the Crown Act, for those of you that are following the national push for around hair discrimination. They've made it, and ISIS's argument was it's ancestral, it's cultural, it was racial. So they made braiding ethnic. They took it away from us as a part of our, a part of the profession and a part of the industry. They took it and made it something else.
Mm-hmm.
That is what caused Texas and Tennessee to be in the state that they're in. Tennessee, we actually hosted our industry day. We've been hosting industry day at the Capitol for the last 5 years, and we've done Georgia, but one of the years we went to Tennessee. And we went to Tennessee because that was when Tennessee was, Tennessee has some discrepancy with their law, because Tennessee says that you can have a license to braid, but then you don't need a license to braid. They have this, it's very confusing in the state of Tennessee, and it probably needs to be a lawsuit. I won't, I'm in no position our organization is in no position to pursue anything like that, but
Right.
it's definitely some very misleading and confusing language around hair and braiding in the state of Tennessee. Texas is real clear. It's gone out of Texas now, and it is just what you said it is. No licensure, it's gone. They got rid of it. They said to hell with it. ISIS sued the state and won. So Texas is like, we're not fighting this battle no more. Y'all black people, y'all want to go do hair, go do hair. So we just have to be mindful that these laws that are coming down the pike, I know we're at the hour and everybody's probably getting tired here, but I just want y'all to be mindful that we have well over, I just put in the chat, 204 bills that need addressing all across this country. We have enough information to feed all of you. I don't necessarily have to lead anything. If I can feed you guys the information, we have 8 in each state, and feed y'all the information, we can organize and galvanize. We are a voting block. When you talk about lobbying and advocating, those are two separate things. We are advocates for our industry. We don't need lobbyists. We don't have to pay. Mm-hmm. We got enough voice, and we have enough power to do anything we need done, because we vote these legislators in our states, and we can vote them out. And not only can we do it, we have the influence of our clients, because we tell our clients, they tell their family, they tell their friends, we are a force to be reckoned with, y'all. And when we come together and organize and galvanize and utilize this vote and become the powerful voting bloc that we are, all of this crap will stop. They're gonna be like, do not mess with them beauty and barber professionals. And I'm gonna tell you how I know this works. I saw it happen with the realtors here in the state of Georgia. The realtors go down to the Capitol every year as a group. And one year I was standing in the window of a legislator and watched a sea of realtors come to the Capitol. The secretary gets on her phone and she said, the realtors are coming, the realtors are coming. And I'm gonna tell you, everybody around there was on alert, because those realtors had so much power. And when the beauty and barber professionals, there's enough of us. When we do the same damn thing, we will be a force to be reckoned with. We will not have to have this conversation about deregulation ever again. So come together, organize. I hope that we'll have some continual conversations after this, and let's put this plan into action. We got everything we need. We just don't have the people. We don't have the industry professionals saying, don't mess with us. And that's the kind of attitude we got to have to win this fight again.
In Pennsylvania, we got some people for you, for sure. And that was exactly the conversation we had when we got with our legislation, was the amount of people, the social influence that we have in our businesses, and if we can vote you out. When we had that voting conversation, that shifted everything, because it was election year. And so I definitely appreciate you sharing that, because that is definitely something that we did here in Pennsylvania, and we had a lot of movement as a result. That made the shift for us big time here.
Hey, listen, I think that I think we definitely have a streamlined conversation about a few things, and this has been impactful, you all. Okay, this has been impactful, and I didn't expect anything less. We have a lot of ideas on the table that have meat on them, and we have a lot of resources to pull together and to be able to build with. And I think that what we're going to do, because we did run a little bit over our time, but we have enough to be able to continue this conversation at a later date. But I think what we need to do is we need to just go around, let everybody make some closing remarks. We're going to keep it up under a minute, and then once everybody goes and does their closing remarks, I'll give mine. We will compile this information and we will do a follow-up. It has to be soon. We can't let too much time get in between this. I'm thinking another 2 weeks.
That's cool with me.
What does everybody think about that? 2 weeks?
Sound
Yeah,
good?
I mean, I think coming up with a solution before the end of the first quarter is major.
Most definitely, most definitely, and of course, I think it's pretty unanimous. Miss Shealy is going to be taking lead on this, and I don't think she really has an option at this point.
That's Representative Tamara Shealy, future representative.
That's correct. That is correct. Respect. So let's do this. So let's go around. Everybody. Let's have some closing comments, right? And then we'll go ahead and we'll wrap this up for the night. And we will start with Mr. Jackson.
Again, Daryl, thank you for inviting me in. I hope that the information I gave today will be helpful, or at least create some thought process around it. I'm very grateful to be a part of this panel and the people who shared their information. I'm just trying to help with creating a pathway with some people and some resources. I put them in the chat. I can also send them to you to help you because those people have already done it. And I'm sure we can get 8 people in Pennsylvania for you. 2, 2, 2, 2.
Solid. Thank you, Tariq. Much appreciated. Mr. Jones.
Yes, in closing now, like I said, my biggest thing has always been unity. We have a very intelligent cast of people on here, and like I said, I would definitely personally like to talk to. I hope I'm saying the name right, Tamara, to get the ball rolling in Maryland, because there's a lot of people on our end of law who need help, and there's a lot of laws that need regulating. So like I said, I don't want to force anything. I don't want to talk about the negative stereotypes, but we definitely need somebody that's actually in the building of license and regulation, so we all can have our own fight, that we can, a person that we can go to and talk to and understand what we represent in the hair field. And we need to pay a fee or something. That's cool, but it definitely need to be regulated.
All right. I'm going to skip over Ms. Shealy for a second because we need her to be the closer. But Mr. Glickman.
Yeah, I agree. I'm here in the state of Georgia with Ms. Shealy, so I'm looking forward to doing whatever I can possibly do. You got my number, just call me. I'm willing to volunteer my time. I'm in a different space now in reference to my work-life balance. So I am available to do things like this. So just reach out to me. In that same sense, I'm all about networking and unifying as much as I can and organizing. So just use me as a tool the best way you can. Like Tyreek say, I have some resources. If I have some resources, I'm willing to share and all of the above. So thank you for the platform tonight, Daryl. I think it was a great first start to an amazing accomplishment here in the future, and looking forward to what's next.
Appreciate it, Sam. All right, Miss Tarsha.
I just wanted to thank everyone for inviting me, Ian, and everyone. I am definitely looking forward to our next platform meeting, Zoom, stream, whatever this thing is. I'm excited about the motivation everyone has to doing this. A lot of times I get in a conversation with people and they're motivated for the moment and nothing takes place after that. And I don't feel like this is going to be that type of moment. So I am looking forward to us moving forward because we do have to take control of our industry. We have to keep education in the forefront, and I'm ready.
All right, good stuff. Good stuff. Much appreciated. Mr. James.
Yes. Yeah. I love being around like-minded individuals. So if I am able to be on the team, be a part of the team, and give my 2 cents, my insight, use my connections, to help and be a part, by all means, I'm for that, man. So, again, just happy to be on the team, and in any way that you guys, any way that you guys see that I can help and be a part, by all means, let me know. Again, this is like a small reunion for me. So, I mean, I'm just glad to be in the presence of giants, man. So, hey, let's get this ball rolling.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Brother Mathematics.
Peace. Thank you for having me. I appreciate everybody's input. A lot of things were sparked. I left with one determined idea. That determined idea today is, how did this conversation of deregulating our industry stop? I'm going to look into that, and if you have me back, I'm going to do a consensus with some of my contemporaries, some people on the board, barbers in the field, and see who benefits from this. Because as far as I'm concerned, in my state, barbers have to have 1,000 hours of training. The police only need 650. Firefighters only need 650. We pay 17,000 a year. The other two don't pay 8,000 a year. I think we have value. And I know in humanity, only 3 people touch you that aren't your loved ones: your barber, your dentist, and the doctor. So with that being said, peace, and thank you for everybody for sparking thought. I appreciate you, and I respect everybody's opinion that was said here today.
Solid words. Brother Commissioner.
Yeah, like everybody else is saying, I've never been around 9 people that are really ready to make something happen. And so I can't wait to see it. Even 2 weeks from now, it's going to be great, greater than today. So God bless everybody. Amen.
Peace.
Solid. All right. So we have, I have, again, Rob Diaz, he wasn't able to come on, but his closing remark says, we can't just talk about it. We have to be about it. A goal written down is nothing but a wish. Let's get an action plan written down so that people can see it and run with it. We have to share this because this is bigger than any one person, shop, or state. Let's unify. All right. And that's from brother Rob Diaz out of Houston, Texas. All right. Mr. Davis, any closing remarks, sir? Mr. Davis, you there? All right. Well, we'll let him chime in another time. I'm gonna go ahead and give my closing remarks, and then I'm going to go ahead and defer to Miss Sheila here. Folks, first and foremost, I appreciate you all taking your time out and joining us for this conversation. These are not easy conversations to have, and it is definitely not easy to come up with solutions, right? But what I do here in this conversation tonight is a theme. The theme that I hear is about power structure, right? And the commissioner was talking earlier about speaking with Dr. Claude Anderson. He speaks a lot to the power structure. And Tariq touched on it a little bit earlier, power structure, right? We all are talking power structure, right? And I think we all understand the power structure. I think we just have to take on putting together a system to challenge it, right? And with that challenge, what that means is we have to understand a few things. And the first thing we have to understand is fragmentation is expensive, okay? Being in an industry that is fragmented is very expensive because we are having a conversation about the power structure being able to at will take our livelihood from us. That is a very expensive cost. So I feel as if moving forward, what we will see happen is within this week, you all will receive an email from us. We'll figure out how we'll get it done, but you will receive an email by the end of this week about the next steps, about the next ideas and the resources that were talked about tonight. And then in that email, we will also find another date to be able to follow up, and we will rinse and repeat. We will stay in close communication, and we will get this thing together, right? And so with that being said, I deflect to Ms. Sheila.
Thank you. Commissioner Chris, I'm going to find that picture of Dr. Claude Anderson and you and I, and I'm going to frame it. I'm going to send it to you. So if you would send me your email address and your address, because I'm going to find that picture, because that is, you know, he poured a lot into you and I both in that moment. We
Right.
lost.
Is this the same picture?
Mm-hmm.
Do you and I have the same picture?
Yes, I'm going to make sure
Okay.
you send me your information. I'm going to make sure you get, you know,
Oh,
Dr.
because they took it. They took it of us. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
have it. I'm going to find it for you. So again, I want to thank you, Daryl, for giving us an opportunity tonight to, you know, have this dialogue about deregulation. This industry is my heart, my heart. This industry gave me an opportunity to raise my children, to be I was a single mom, but to be the best mom I could be and provide for my kids and still have the flexibility in doing something that I absolutely love. This industry, to most of us that are, you know, practicing professionals, this is our heart and our soul. So it's not surprising to me that the barbers now are rising up. I'm excited because I know, you know, the barbers, y'all started this industry started from you, from barbers, and you're going to end this fight. You're going to stop the deregulation that's attacking us. You're going to stop these legislators from making laws and making excuses and making decisions for us. We're going to put a stop to that. We're going to get into the trenches. We're going to mobilize. We're going to organize. We're going to galvanize. We're going to work together, and we're going to be a force to be reckoned with, because at one point in our industry, we were that. Our organization just finished reading a book called Beauty Shop Politics. If you haven't read it, you got to pick it up. Beauty Shop Politics by Tiffany M. Gill. It talks about who we were, the integrity that was in this industry, who we were, and to see where we are now. We got a fight on our hands, but it is a fight that we can win, again, if we mobilize, organize, and galvanize. So thank you again for this opportunity, Daryl.
No problem. Listen, I'm just doing my part, you all. Again, that's it. Just doing my part to bring strong leaders together so that we can be able to make an impact. Mr. Davis, are you there, sir? All right. I guess he's off. So listen, folks, it's been great. It's been good. We ran a little bit over our time, but again, just know action plans moving forward is you will receive an email this week about the things we discussed. We will schedule another time to get this done, and then we will come up with some further movement on this. I appreciate your time, and I appreciate you all. You all be blessed and have a great night.
All right, you as well. Peace.
God
Thank
bless
you.
you, man. God bless all of you.
Thank you.
God bless. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
I feel like it's a looming question mark. What's the new business model? And to me, you know, the people that lead to that answer and lend their intelligence, they hustle, their efforts, their mind power, they, you know, whatever they can offer to that question and to fix fixing that and coming up with an answer to that, I feel like that's one of the most important things. Right now, I think it's the business model creators of this new era that's going to be able to be the titans of business moving forward. People that create the new business models. I feel like the giants going to be the ones who create the business models. That's what we trying to do with this Proud to Pay. Fuck the little man and, this disruptive multimedia.
It's time for you barbers. I'm calling your name. It's time for you stylists. I'm calling your name to prepare yourself for the opportunity, because the opportunity is coming.
You know what I mean? It's actually an incredible time. It's like a gold rush. There's never been a time like this. This technology has empowered everybody. It's giving people, it's as big as you want to make it. And, it's as far as you want to take it. Giants gonna crumble. Big companies gonna crumble. New companies gonna pop up out of nowhere. And it's going to be dramatic right now, and I believe it.
And I'm telling you, BarberTime is the best media, social media for the barbers out there. Listen, watch BarberTime, because this is what we do, baby. This is the barber industry. This is what we do, and this is how we get down.
And BarberTime all the time.